What's going on, Stellar Crew? Bob MacArthur here for Stellarvue Telescopes for the February 2026 edition of In the Sky. Whew, it is February. We are in the heart of winter observing in the Northern Hemisphere. It is cold, so get that warm weather gear on, get out and observe because we have so many good things to look at. The winter constellations are in full effect. You have Taurus, Gemini, Auriga, Orion, Canis Major, Canis Minor. You even have Cancer. You're starting to get into some of those spring constellations like Leo. So you can get some of those like winter Milky Way objects like M35, M42, M45. And then you can even start sneaking in some of those spring things like the Beehive cluster. And if you stay up late enough, things like M65 and M66, some of my most favorite galaxies to look at. So my weapon of choice tonight is the SVX90T. Actually had it out last night too. I am loving the Skywatcher Wave 150i. This little setup right here is quick. It's easy to set up, especially in the wintertime when you don't want to freeze your buns off getting outside to observe. I love setting this thing up. The Wave 150i connects right to your phone or your tablet, and it's great. You just basically do a quick 2-star alignment. It's there, it's good. And as you can see, I'm doing visual observation. You know, once you do your alignment, you hit M42, Orion Nebula. Maybe you want to swing over to Jupiter or the Pleiades. It's so easy to use. And like I've talked about using it in the past with like the ASI Air and some of the astrophotography gear. It does so good with that. So I am excited to use this setup again tonight. It's going to be great. We got a beautiful night. So let's get to it and let's talk about what we got going on in the sky for February 2026.
Hi, this is Vic Maris, the president of Stellarvue Telescopes. I'm at the Stellarvue booth at the 247th meeting of the American Astronomical Society this year in Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm going to be talking to a number of people here, people from organizations, people who represent observatories. We're having a great deal of fun here at this particular meeting. I got to meet with the planetarium folks. Went out and saw one of the best planetariums I've ever seen, the one in Phoenix. It's a completely new technology that's being used there. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to walk over across the way here and I'm going to speak to Kevin from Lowell Observatory. Hey, Kevin, what's going on at Lowell?
Hey, Vic, there's a lot going on at Lowell. One is we just hit the 1-year anniversary of opening our new Marley Foundation Astronomy Discovery Center.
Nice.
So it's a 3-story high visitor facility featuring, among other things, a rooftop planetarium. You sit in the seats, you sit back, you look up, but instead of looking at stars projected on the ceiling, you're looking at the real dark skies of Flagstaff, the first international dark sky city. So our attendance is way up from last year. And so we have so many new programs and facilities with the public. Among things, there's plenty of parking. And this new visitor center is really state-of-the-art. There's nothing like it anywhere in the world. This real science center plopped on top of a campus that's 130 plus years old. So the education is out of this world right now, or out of this universe, I guess we say. And then in terms of science, you know, we're having funding difficulties, so we're kind of refocusing our science a little bit, how we fund it, as well as kind of narrowing down the focus of our research on planetary defense and exoplanet research. There's some other going on, but those are 2 areas of focus we're really hitting. So we're excited to be at the AAS meeting to share the word of both the science and the outreach.
So tell us about planetary defense.
Planetary defense is something at the observatory that we've sort of studied for years, looking for objects like comets or asteroids that could impact Earth at some point. We're now getting to the point where we're characterizing these things, looking at their orbits, trying to determine exactly what and when these things could hit. And then Lowell astronomers are part of efforts such as DART, the mission to look at what we could do if we discover something that could hit Earth. Could we deflect it off its path? And that's something that astronomers are studying now, taking advantage of our Lowell Discovery Telescope, which in conjunction with spectrograph on it is one of the most powerful instruments in the world for determining the precise positions of these things. I'm looking at the astrometry. Visiting Lowell is a lot of fun, and a good first step to visit Lowell is to go to the website, which is lowell.edu. And you'll see that there's tours, there's telescope viewing, there's time in the exhibit hall. You can meet our scientists. We're open every day but Tuesdays, and also a few major holidays, but pretty much Lowell's open every day and night. And it's a really great place to visit.
Oh man, Vic, it looks like you had such a great time out there at the AAS conference out in Phoenix. I wish I could have joined you this year, but the school year, second semester started right about, I couldn't have done it. So I'm glad you had fun out there. I am looking forward to seeing you at NEAF and being out there at NEAF. So the stellar crew out there, I'm excited to see you at NEAF too. Kevin, Lowell Observatory is one of my favorite places in the world. I was very fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work at Lowell Observatory during my undergrad at Northern Arizona University. Worked in the public programs department, helped operate telescopes and did programs. It is such a wonderful institution. Their mission and vision of getting astronomy out to the public and to everyone is so great. They have such wonderful outreach programs there. So if you're in the Flagstaff area, go visit Lowell. You know, they have this amazing new open sky planetarium, amazing new visitor center and observing deck. What's really cool about Lowell now is you have the historical stuff you can go see, like the Pluto Discovery Telescope. You can still look through the Clark telescope, the 24-inch Clark telescope that was built in 1896. This is the telescope that Percival Lowell used to see his famous canals on Mars. But it's also the telescope that Vestal Melvin Slipher used to discover the redshift, some of the very first evidence that our universe was expanding. So then you have the historical stuff. You know, Pluto Discovery Telescope, you hear about Clyde Tombaugh, you can see the Blink Comparator. But then they have this state-of-the-art facility with a 30-inch telescope and refractors and just amazing facility. So as you can tell, I love Lowell. It's just, and Kevin and I are such good friends. We go way back, and he's written some great books on the training of the Apollo astronauts in the Flagstaff area at Meteor Crater, the lava flows out there in the Grand Canyon. So he is so passionate about what he does, and it's so great to get together with him. So Vic, thank you for going to AAS. I love seeing your excitement there. And Kevin, wish I could have saw you at AAS, but so good to see you there at Lowell, and look forward to seeing you at NEAF and maybe at Lowell. So guys, if you're in the Flagstaff area, go out there. If you ever want to check out the AAS conference, look at becoming a member. It's really cool to see what's going on in research. When I got to go last year, it was so great to see all the research proposals that undergrads and grad students were doing, plus all of the big telescopes and all these wonderful facilities, the Giant Magellan Telescope, the Vera Rubin, Hubble, James Webb, the Habitable Worlds Observatory. There is so much cool stuff coming online. We have the National Solar Observatory, the Daniel K. Inouye Telescope in Hawaii. Man, we live in such a great time for astronomy. We see that what's going on at the AAS conference, at NEAF, at all these wonderful conferences. Get out, get your observatories, check them out, and let's talk about what we got going on for February. Well, let's start the month off right with a lunar occultation. The waning gibbous moon is going to move over the brightest star in Leo, Regulus. Now, here in the western United States, we're going to probably see some of it just as it's starting to rise over in the east. We'll kind of catch it. But the central and eastern United States, you'll be able to get this event. Also parts of Canada and Western Africa. Really fun to watch the moon move over some of those brightest stars along the ecliptic. Now, with that said, on February 6th, the waning gibbous moon is going to be near Spica, which is the brightest star in the constellation Virgo. So that'll make a nice little pairing. And we are starting to get Venus in the sky. So February 16th, if you look low on the western horizon after sunset, you're going to start seeing that bright Venus starting to show up. Over the last few months, it's been up in the morning sky. Now it's coming around the backside of the sun to make its appearance in the evening sky. So I always love that. Venus is a fun one to watch as it goes through its phases, as it moves from behind the sun to in between the Earth and the sun. We'll watch it go from almost a full Venus to a crescent Venus over the next few months. So check that out. We have another comet in the sky. That's great. I'm not even going to attempt that name. So comet C2024E1. I've read some things about this comet where it actually could be a pretty bright comet, maybe in that 6th magnitude range, maybe a little bit brighter, maybe a little bit fainter. We all know how these comets can be. But on February 17th, it's going to make its closest approach to Earth, which could be the brightest point. So, and just around that time, it's also going to be at perihelion, which is its closest approach to the sun. So check this comet out. On February 18th, this is going to be cool, but also really hard to see. We're going to have that like waxing crescent moon, very thin waxing crescent moon. So it'll be right there next to Mercury. So Venus will be lower, and then you have Mercury and then the waxing crescent moon. But what's really cool is this could be another occultation event. So if you are in the southeastern United States, Mexico, Central America, South Pacific, New Zealand, you will actually get to watch the moon pass over Mercury. Check out the Lunar Occultations website. It'll kind of give you time, place, location. This could be a really cool event. Unfortunately for me in Colorado, it'll just make a really nice little pairing, that little crescent moon with Mercury right next to it. Mercury is a challenging planet, but this could be a possibility. I believe Mercury is also coming from behind the sun, so crescent Mercury? Full to crescent? I don't know. I think it's coming from behind the sun, so it's going to be kind of a fuller Mercury, kind of with Venus. So we got Venus, we got Mercury, and then we also have Saturn up there. So on the 19th, the waxing crescent moon is going to make a nice pairing with Saturn. And then on February 23rd through the 24th, so kind of throughout that night, that first quarter moon is going to move through the Pleiades. So throughout the night, you can actually watch the moon move through the Pleiades open star cluster. I always enjoy that. You know, the moon that passes through that. It's just a really cool pairing. You can get some really nice wide field visual shots or photography, or just look up. You know, there it is. So, and then on February 26th through 27th, Jupiter and the waxing gibbous moon are paired near each other. Really nice grouping. And then, of course, the bright stars Castor and Pollux and Gemini add a little, just like little icing on top of the cake there. So check out that nice little grouping there. So let's talk about the solar system. We've already kind of started talking about the solar system, but we are still kind of at that peak of a solar maximum. We are starting to kind of see a downtrend in sunspot numbers, but we're still really good. I mean, we had an amazing solar storm in January, so who knows, we could get another one. So check out spaceweather.com. They do a really good job talking about geomagnetic storms. The National Solar Observatory GONG website shows those areas of activity on the sun. And if you are going to view the sun, make sure you have the proper filters. Make sure you have a good white light filter on the front of the telescope. You don't want to damage your eyesight. H-alpha telescopes are great, but please, please, please make sure you're using the proper equipment to view the sun with your eyes. Also, to take images. And the GONG National Solar Observatory website is great to see what activity is going on with the sun too. Space Weather does that. And of course, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration Space Weather website. You know, they are the ones that put out the geomagnetic storm warnings, the radio storm warnings, the solar storm warnings. They are a wonderful website to figure out the activity on the sun there too. And of course, planets. We got a lot going on. Like I said, we got Mercury up there, we got Venus up there, we got Earth. Obviously, we're on it. Mars is still in solar conjunction, so Mars is kind of out of the game a little bit. We know that Jupiter is shining bright in the sky right now in Gemini. You also have Uranus up there in Taurus. And then, of course, Saturn and Neptune are near each other in the western sky. So all the planets are doing well. Of course, me and Pluto. Pluto's kind of over there in Sagittarius right now. But, thelivesky.com is a great website to look up, the minor planets, the asteroids, comets, what's up in the sky to look at in that realm. And also the Sky and Telescope Astronomical Tools website. I've mentioned this before. If you want to know what moons you're seeing and what positions they are, that is a phenomenal website. Stellarium and Sky Safari will also do that for you too. There are just so many tools to figure out where things are in the sky and where to see them. I know the Live Sky does a great job with comets, so if you want to see how our comet is doing, there you go. Yeah, absolutely. So moon phases, there you go. Full moon is February 1st at the beginning of the month. And then the new moon is February 17th. So get out there, observe the moon. For me, the full moon is always kind of a hard one, but I'm learning to appreciate going out and at least observing, the moon and, the brighter stars and binary stars and things like that. There's always something to look at, right? So let's talk about star clusters. So, we are in winter Milky Way season. Now, the winter Milky Way is not as bright as the summer Milky Way. Our friends in the southern hemisphere, it's flipped for them. So we get Sagittarius in our summer, they get Sagittarius in their winter. But right now, we have some amazing objects to observe. We have M45, the Pleiades. Already talked about how the moon's going to pass through the Pleiades this year. One of my favorite open star clusters is M35. That is just a really nice open star cluster to look at. I also really like M46. We have a great shot there by Robert there of M46. The reason why I like M46 is it gives you that nice little planetary, little extra object in there to look at. And then near M46, you have M47 and NGC 23. Sorry. So the summer Milky or the winter Milky Way goes kind of right through Canis Major, Orion, into Gemini and Auriga, Taurus, kind of like up through there. So you're getting some really nice objects. And we're starting to see some of our, spring stuff come up. That's why I make mention of the Beehive cluster, M44, and the King Cobra cluster, M67, which are really nice. You throw in with the SVX90T there with the 30 millimeter flat field, you get just an amazing view of M45 and M44. Just beautiful wide field. And I gotta throw some objects down to our friends down in the southern hemisphere. NGC 3532 or Caldwell object number 91, the Wishing Well cluster down there in Carina. Just beautiful cluster. I've been fortunate enough to get a few viewing sessions down there. So yeah, got some good stuff down there. So let's talk about Nebula. Nebula, there we go. And, like I said, because we're in winter Milky Way season, there are some nebulas to look at. One that I've kind of really enjoyed observing over the last few years is NGC 2359, the Thor's helmet. It's a little challenging of an object visually, but if you throw in like a UHC filter, you can pop it out a little bit more. Some great photographs. Jim got a great shot of Thor's helmet right there. So that's a fun object to get. Crab Nebula is still up there, of course. The Rosette, one of my favorites. The Rosette's great because you have that open star cluster right there in the middle too. And of course, I kept the Cone Nebula and the Christmas tree cluster up there. And then, oh my gosh, look at this shot Brian got of the Horsehead with his SCX-90T. What a great shot. So you got the Flame Nebula there, you have the Horsehead, and I think you got a little bit of just beautiful view of there, the gas clouds, and just, wow. So there are some great things to look at. We also have the Eskimo or Clown Face Nebula, one of my favorite planetaries to look at. That's up there in Gemini, so give that one a look. And of course, we have our friends in the southern hemisphere. It is actually the Large Magellanic Cloud is nicely placed this time of year, so you can get things like the Tarantula Nebula, NGC 2070. You also have Carina nicely placed, so you get the Carina Nebula. So good objects to look at down there in the southern hemisphere. Now, it's not galaxy season here. That's usually in the spring, but we're starting to get a little bit of a touch of it. We still have some really nice galaxies down there in Eridanus below Orion, like NGC 1300 and NGC 1232. I like NGC 1300, beautiful barred spiral galaxy. And then, as Ursa Major is starting to get up, you are getting NGC 2403 or Caldwell object number 7. I have really enjoyed this galaxy up there in the Camel. That's one constellation I always have a hard time with. But it's actually a really nice spiral galaxy. So check out that one. And then, I got to throw in some of those Ursa Major galaxies starting to come up. You have M81 and M82. I love these galaxies. These are personally some of my favorite galaxies to look at. They just make a really nice pairing. And then you can get some of those NGC objects there too, those little two small ones just to kind of up and above M82 there. So check those out. And M81's fun because it's an irregular galaxy, so you have that great little shape to it. And then right there at the bottom of the Big Dipper, all right, we actually have M108. Now, M108 is a cool galaxy. You also have the Owl Nebula right next to it. So you get the Owl Nebula, which is a planetary nebula, and then you get M108, which is a nice galaxy. So there you go. And then we're starting to get Leo. So we have M95, M96, and M105, which are all kind of grouped together there. So Leo's starting to come up. We're starting to see the beginning of galaxy season, which is really exciting. So there we go. All right, let's get over to some binaries. These are always fun to find some new ones and some old friends like Castor. That's just a really nice binary to look at. It's a pretty standard binary. They're really kind of close in brightness. The primary is slightly brighter, and they kind of a yellowish tint to them, like a yellow white. But it's too bright, like boom, right? Really good binary. Now, Sigma Orionis. I always forget about this one. So check out Sigma Orionis. This is a multiple star system. I think it's a 5-star system, and you can see 4 of them. So this is really cool. So check out Sigma Orionis. It's just really cool to see a multiple star system. Like I said, I always tend to forget about that one, so I put that one on the list. I'm reading my notes here for the, because I get them out there, I observe, I want to write them down. So yeah, actually, Tegamine Zeta Cancer is one of my favorites. This is a great test of seeing and optics, because you actually have 3 stars here, right? You have the primary, which actually is a very, very close secondary to that. And depending on your seeing, you can separate it. They're really close and really tight. And when the atmosphere works out, pop, you see them. 2 kind of like yellow stars about the same brightness, and then you get the third part, the third star of the group. So I really enjoy this one, and again, it depends on your aperture and it depends on your seeing conditions. I can do this when I had my 127. The 152 does it pretty good with seeing conditions. So there you go. Now, this one is a new one for me at Hara, Epsilon Canis Major. This is a good test of seeing because you have the really, really, really bright primary, and it's a whitish primary, but you have a significantly dimmer secondary. So that primary can wash out the secondary. So if you have really good seeing conditions, you'll get that bright primary, and that secondary will pop. So try that one. That's a good one to get. So some new ones and some familiar ones. Get out there, enjoy those enjoy those binaries. Here we are in February. We, it's a busy time of year. We're going into spring, and we want to get observing in. The nights are getting shorter as we're getting closer to the equinox. But it's just great to get out to observe. It's also great to get out and observe with friends. Vic had a great time at the AAS, hanging out with other people from other telescope companies and other science institutions. We have star parties starting to think about, like the Texas Star Party and a whole bunch of other star parties for the summertime. So get out there, have fun, invite your friends over, get together for a star party, join your astronomy clubs, go visit an observatory, like if you can visit Lowell Observatory, or just see if you have an observatory in your local city. I know I say it all the time, but the local observatories that we can visit, the public programs, they need a lot of support. And let's get out there, let's support each other, let's have a great time observing, stay warm, and keep looking up.